Some of the things that excited you most about getting the group together?
Yeah, I mean, really exciting. I was really impressed by the shape our guys are in. Thought the conditioning was really good. We cut it, I don't know, probably 20 minutes ago, and I thought they had margin to do more. We're coming back tonight, so we cut it anyways. But they kind of, chewed up the practice a little bit. I was pretty impressed by the conditioning. It speaks to the readiness and the summer work that they did. I was really impressed by that.
You have a group of guys that are sort of gym rats, like nose to the grindstone kind of guys. Is this an example of the Thunder DNA kind of coming out of some of these guys?
Yeah, I think it's that, but it's also the intentionality that they work with. Mm-hmm. And, we talk about attacking the program. They do that, and they get themselves ready, which is part of being professional players. And there's a lot that goes into that, and they hit it pretty hard. And so then when it comes time to be ready, they are. And, I give them a lot of credit for just how ready they were on day zero.
First week of training camp and first game is just about a week away. What's kind of the main intention and focus in these sessions?
Laying out, our main fundamentals and our main identity and style, and allowing them to build chemistry and develop, under that framework, really. Get that stuff introduced, get it cleaned up, take it one fundamental at a time. Don't try to rush ahead. Don't try to skip steps, and then, we'll throw it out against an opponent, and, a lot of it will look good. A lot of it will look like it needs a lot of improvement, and that starts the whole process that doesn't end really until the end of the season.
Does bringing a lot of the guys back from last year help with some of that continuity and not really having to explain as much in these sort of days?
Yeah, the continuity showed up big time, and even I don't think there was a guy in the practice that hadn't been through a Thunder or Summer League practice. And our Summer League training camp is 80% similar. It's really not different. So there's a lot of familiarity, and it allows for internal leadership on the team. And that was what I really noticed is it was the least coach-driven practice we've had in my 3 years. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of guys talking to one another, a lot of awareness of what's going on. And ultimately, if you look at the best teams in the league, that's how they are, and we're building towards that. And these guys are taking steps towards that.
You talked about the identity. What is the Thunder identity? And does that change from year to year?
Compete together on court, obviously there's more to it off court, being a pro, attacking the program with commitment, being optimistic, growing through experiences, being efficient. But on court, it's compete together. We just want people that are watching us. We want opponents playing against us. We want everybody that interacts with us in a game setting to say, man, that team is competitive as hell, and they do it together. And I think we've done a nice job to this point building that, but you can't take it for granted. You got to do it every day.
Speaking of competition, did you notice more of that today with some guys out here trying to make the roster?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know about the roster. It was 1 through 19, though. Okay. They were competitive as hell, or however many guys. I think it was 17 guys practiced. Guys were like picking up full court on their own accord. It was really physical. It was probably our most physical first practice. It was a definite, you felt a definite step forward as a team in a lot of areas. It felt like we've grown as a team a little bit, and that was evident and exciting.
You said that you thought guys were going to come in looking different. Could you tell them the first day?
A little bit. Some of the stuff I've said, the internal leadership stood out. And how vocal some of the guys were. Even like Robinson Earl, I thought today was like our most vocal guy, and with really good intention. The physicality, showed up. That was, the most physical practice we've had. That was like player driven. You can always light a fire and get them to be physical, but like we were just trying to run offense, and these guys were up the floor, in each other's ass. So it was good.
Or could you comment on the Ty Jerome situation?
Yeah, that was a decision that came to where it is now between Sam and Ty's representation. And this is the resolution that they landed on. We take a lot, I'm very grateful for Ty and his time here, because we take a lot of pride not only in how our players develop while they're kind of between our walls, but also what they do after they leave. We really take a lot. Not every player is going to play here forever. It's just the nature of the NBA. But we really, truly care about our guys, and we want them to, especially if they start here or they're here early in their careers, which most of these guys are, including Ty, we want them to go on and have success. And we want their success to be because of some of the habits and the mindsets and fundamentals that they learned here. And so we're rooting for all those guys that have kind of grown up here. He's one of them. And like I said, smart player, competitive player, tough player that will have a good career. You know, I'm very confident in that.
You don't have that much experience, but you think that it's not disrespectful.
No,
But-
none taken. I've been called a lot where I'm married, so.
Do you think that being a younger coach is easier to relate to the younger players?
I think that relatability to the players is transcendent of age. And honestly, I think it comes down to them trusting your competence. I think it comes down to them trusting your intentions, that you're going to protect the team and serve the team. And I think it comes down to them knowing that you're going to be consistent day to day, and you're not going to be blowing in the wind, and you're not going to be reacting, too heavily to the emotions of the season. And I think, a 75-year-old coach can do those things, and I think a 30-year-old coach can do those things. And if you do those things, then you'll relate to the players. You'll be speaking the language of basketball, and if you don't, you won't. And so we try to make sure, not only me, but our coaching staff is pretty inexperienced, but we try to make sure we're speaking that language very consistently. And I think that's the best way to relate to a player.
We know about Coach England and his shooting touch to help out the players, but how can he help you out with his knowledge of been there, done that with the Spurs for so long?
Well, my elbow is it flies out on my jump shot. So I'm just getting it a little tighter.
He can correct it.
Yeah, he can really help with that. I think he brings a lot of wisdom. He's a pro's pro, and he also brings great positivity and humility, and he's coming in. Obviously he's coached for longer than maybe our whole staff combined, or most of our staff combined, myself included. And he's come from obviously a lot of success, because that's been the gold standard in the league for the last 2 decades. And yet he's come in with a intention of blending in, allowing other people to progress in their careers. All he wants to do is help and have a positive impact. And like I said yesterday, when you guys asked me about him, in order for this to work, which is working and it will work, he's got to have that. And we also have to have the humility and the infrastructure to bring somebody that's impactful in from the outside. And we have both of those things. And that's why we're very confident it'll be a really good and impactful relationship.
Josh talked about getting in the weight room, being more physical, and getting near that 400-pound bench. But is there any worry about someone of that who's working on his shot maybe doing too much in the weight room?
Not with the shooting. That's not as, at least from what we understand, not as relevant. There is something to how they move. Every player, they move in a very natural way. And if you put too much weight on them and they're carrying too much weight, they can't move with the fluidity that they need to be impactful players. And that's where, I talk about attacking the program, and that's kind of a vague statement, but them understanding that, becoming educated on that, knowing why they're doing what they're doing in the weight room, knowing how that's going to impact their performance, being educated in the process, and then hitting the process and attacking the process. That's why that's so important. But that's AP and Donnie and Kevin Hyde, all those guys in there. Those guys, understand the guys' bodies. They're experts in that area. Each guy has an individual plan, especially in that area, because everybody's different. And, he's an example of that. So he happens to be a person that can carry more weight. So I would expect him to be you're talking Josh, right? Mm-hmm. I would expect him to be pretty big, here in a couple of years physically.
Music-wise, is the same thing as last year for picking
anthems. 2 anthems. Everybody picks 2 anthems.
What was yours?
They were both Springsteen songs. Because, last year it was 1 Springsteen song, and there was not enough Springsteen, so doubled it this year. It was Thunder Road and Badlands, 2 great. Matt, you approve?
I love Badlands. Ain't no sin to be glad you're alive.
What's that?
Ain't no sin to be glad you're alive.
Ain't no sin to be glad you're alive. So line in Badlands. Listen to it later. It's good.
There's a lot of talk about Trey Mann yesterday. What have you noticed about him? Like, is he playing any more physical? What have you seen?
Better be. Better be. He's bigger. Yeah, hell of a summer. A lot of the guys had a big summer, but he had a great summer, and I was really impressed by really all the guys. But he's a really good example of this. They were really, really hardworking, but very intentional, and they ran through the finish line of the summer with a lot of intentionality, with a plan physically and a plan basketball wise and a plan in terms of rejuvenation and their time. And he did an unbelievable job of that. I mean, he really, really got after it and is coming in with a lot of confidence, I think, from that. And I think I'm really, a year in, pretty impressed by how quickly he, on the court, was able to adjust to the physicality. I thought he stuck his nose in the fight in the second half of the season last year, and also got on the plan with the level of intention that he has. When I met him in the draft process, I thought he was going to be a slower learning curve, which is fine. Sometimes you can go further with a slower learning curve. That's not a diss on anybody, but he's picked that stuff up pretty quickly, and so we're pretty excited about him.